I do want you to go back to, because I think you kind of rushed your point on your criticism of Lamar Jackson and the problems you had with him saying he wants to be a billionaire. I don't find Lamar Jackson's probably 25 years old. And so when he's a kid, let's say from age 8 to now 25, the last 17 years, that's basically the reign of Jay-Z and of hip hop and the whole just glorification of billionaire status and money, 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 money. And so I do think that as a kid, he thought about, oh, how can I be a billionaire? I want to win games and I want to be a billionaire, because we've had a culture that has preached to him that making as much money as possible is the most important thing in the world. And you're really not somebody until you got enough money to throw away $100,000 in a strip club one night and turn around and burn $50,000 just to impress your friends the next night. And so I do, and I'm not saying that's what Lamar's thinking about, just wasting his money, but he grew up in a culture that has been defined by materialism and the pursuit of wealth by any means. If you're a drug dealer and have made money selling drugs, as long as you're rich, it's worth it and it's to be respected. I just think those statements he made there were authentic and a reflection of the culture that helped produce him.
That may be, and I don't mean to be so critical of Lamar as I am about the idea that he spewed. And so, and I've told you this, I actually think Lamar's a good kid, and he seems to be trying to give the right, he seems very genuine. And so again, it is more the idea that I object to. You know, there was a study, a Harvard study that's still currently, it's the longest running study in history. It's an 80-year study. Started in 1938 during the Great Depression there. And it actually had JFK in the study. And obviously he's not a subject anymore, but it had 700 or 800 people in it. It's now being run by Robert Waldinger. He's a psychiatrist. And so what they wanted to look at, they went to Harvard. And back then, these studies were done just on men. Since that time, they've added women into the study and had additional people. But they went to Harvard, and they got a bunch of college-age men and said, we would like to study you the rest of your lives. Are you cool with that? And they got a bunch of people to sign up. Then they went to the poorest neighborhood in Boston, got the kids that were just barely making it. And these were kids, young kids. They said, can we study you too? We want to see the most privileged people who came from the most possible money. Their parents, they either had a legacy into Harvard, they could pay for it, whatever it is. And then we want to see the kids who have nothing. And we want to study you guys. And this is a study on happiness. So what is it like that you are going to live the most satisfied life? And again, the study's still going on. There was a great TED Talk on this in 2015. What they found when they gathered everything they knew about these participants, and this is blood tests, they had access to all their doctor's information. There was a ton of stuff. They had full access, and they interviewed these people every so many years to say, hey, what's going on in your life? You just got a job promotion. Tell me more about it. And they have a ledger of all this stuff. And at age 50, it wasn't their middle-age cholesterol levels that predicted how they were going to grow old. It was how satisfied they were with their relationships. Money was never a consideration. So how are you, when you're 80 years old, who is going to live to be 80? And how satisfied are you going to be? And what is that going to be? The number one predictor was how happy you were with your relationships, your marriage, your close friends, your family, every day. Money was not even a consideration. The poor kids in Boston were just as happy as the rich kids at Harvard, so long as they had a long-lasting relationship and they held their marriage together and everything that was involved. And so my objection with Lamar Jackson saying, I want to be a billionaire, like everybody thinks money's going to lead to all this happiness. They're crazy. And I get it. It's from Jay-Z, who learned it from somebody else, who learned from somebody else. They were all wrong. And my problem is it gives poor people hope that if they just get to that, because they're not there yet, then they will be happy and they'll have a satisfying life. Instead, if they were told the proper things, actual studies, things we read out of the Bible, real legitimate information is have good, long-lasting fulfilling relationships with the people close to you, and you will have a long, satisfying life. And you won't even care about the money. And so that's my big objection with Lamar. It's like, you know, he learned from Jay-Z and he just went on the shop and a bunch of other kids are watching him and they're all like, I just want to be a billionaire. And I'm like, good luck, man. You end up a lonely billionaire. You know, some of the people who commit suicide the most are the richest people, because they get to the top and they think, I thought this was it. I was supposed to be happy when I got all this money, and they're still not happy. It just doesn't work.
It's so funny. You're hitting on things I've had to think about and deal with over the past few years, in particular, because when I was in college, I can remember being at Ball State University, and one of my professors had been a former reporter at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he said he made $70,000 a year. And I remember thinking while at Ball State, senior in college, oh my God, if I make $70,000 in a year and I'm just writing about sports, I got life licked. So when I entered into this profession, it had nothing to do with money. I just wanted to be involved with sports and writing and talking about sports. I thought, and just at that time I was really just about writing about sports. I just thought, man, I'll never work a day in my life. As I became more successful, and the financial rewards kept getting greater and greater and greater, things I had never envisioned happening. I can't say I pivoted because I didn't change my beliefs in terms of I'm not going to sell out just to make as much money as possible, but I did want to be as successful as I could in this career. I wanted to be like Mike Royko, who was my childhood writing idol. And so I wanted to win a Pulitzer Prize. I wanted to be the best, and this was all in the sports lane. And I did lose sight of family and the importance of family. And that's why I made some very poor relationship decisions, because I hadn't prioritized family the way that I should, and I got lost in career success. And so that's why I'm a bit more sympathetic when I hear those things out of Lamar, because it's like I've been there. And then particularly for Lamar, when you grow up and your family's poor and you start seeing the impact of your success, the impact on them, what you're able to provide for them and the opportunities, it just becomes more and more a priority in your mind. It's like, man, I'm not just blessing me, I'm blessing these people in my family and friends and people I care about. And so I guess the advice I would give Lamar is don't get so obsessed, and I'm sure he won't make this mistake, that you forget about your own family, starting your own family, because I'm just telling you, I lost sight of that, and it's one of the biggest mistakes of my life. But enough about. You got anything else you want to say, TJ, before I let you go?
Just to add to what you're saying there, it's like, look, money's great, but there's a lot of studies out there that show that once you get about $60,000 a year, your level of life satisfaction pretty much, now that's going up actually that's about 5 to 10 years old now. So, it's probably closer to 75, 80,000 now. But once you hit that, it's like, that's enough that you're not dying to pay your bills, that you're not just looking around to scrounge together $10 to pay your light bill. Once you get there and can live comfortably, your level of life satisfaction doesn't really move. And so, look, I've been on journeys of, I thought I was going to make it in the NFL, and I went to Mizzou, and I went out, and I dedicated 17 years of my life since I was 7 years old to where I was 22 years old in New England, and I tore my Achilles, and my family was the only thing there to pick up the pieces. So all that money out there is great, but if Dad would have handed me $500,000, that wasn't nearly as big of a deal as the hug that I got when I got home.
That's TJ Moe.